Everybody, friendly neighborhood game master Zach Hall here with another kind of blind read through, this time of a playtest from Kobold Press. Codename Project Black Flag is Kobold Press's response to the OGL shenanigans from last month with Wizards of the Coast threatening kind of to remove the license that enabled so many third-party content creators like Kobold from being able to license their 5th edition work without having to pay royalties to Wizards of the Coast. That's all gone away now for the time being, it seems, but never know. But Kobold Press has stuck to their guns, and they announced when things were happening that they were going to be creating a 5e backwards compatible product that wouldn't require any kind of licensing with Wizards of the Coast to protect their business. I really like what Kobold Press and the products that they've created. I've never used them in game, but every product I've gotten from them has been really well crafted, and reading through has always worked really well with. And so this is the first playtest packet. It's just Lineage and Heritage, just kind of giving you a brief glimpse of the very beginning of what character creation with their new system would look like, but thought I'd create a video around it and take a look. And I'll do one of these for all the playtest packets as long as I remain interested in the project. Couple of notes: this is not a blind read through like most of my content. I actually recorded a version of this yesterday, went to go edit it, and there was a audio hum throughout the audio that made it really difficult. That's on me. I believe it's fixed now. Shouldn't be a problem, but I have seen this before, but I think it's going to enable me to kind of maybe go through this a little faster and show you the nitty gritty of what's new, if you're already familiar with showing you where the differences are. And there's a few, and I really like what Kobold Press has done here. They don't even have a finalized name for this, which is why it's kind of in brackets and italics, the core fantasy role playing. But Project Black Flag is not their end all be all name for this. They'll probably be just some kind of generic fantasy-esque system name for it. So most of this is all incredibly similar, if not exactly the same as what you would see in 5th edition. Some things that they call out specifically, this elements of core fantasies, it's a good note of just here's what we're trying to create while using the same system. Over here, how to use this packet, they do mention that PCs in let's call it CFR, core fantasy role-playing, characters are a little more a little higher power in CFR than in basic 5e. Mainly because of the new talent system that they've incorporated into their character creation process. They mention that if you are trying to mix and match, especially since this playtest material is the first and only available bit, but you want to actually playtest and try it out at the table, to try, I believe they say that you can give characters a first level feat that they would normally have a prerequisites for. So you can do that. All right, and let's jump right in. Character creation, most of this is extremely similar. The first bit that is new is, instead of race, which we're calling lineage in CFR, sub-race backgrounds, none of those are actually affecting your ability scores. So in CFR, at least it pitched here in the playtest packet, is the 4d6 dropping the lowest ability generation method, which is extremely popular. Once you've assigned those, you add 2 to one score of your choice that is 16 or below, and can add 1 to one ability that is 17 or below, essentially giving everybody free access to 1+2 and 1+1. It's worded a little funny just to make sure that nobody gets over an 18 in during the character creation process, which is good. But it does mean that they've basically removed any of the ability score effects from lineage, heritage, or background choices. It's not my favorite solution to this. I think my preference would be if we were going to keep with that same method of rolling, picking abilities, and then assigning a +2 and a +1. I would prefer to have your background provide a +1, maybe an option between 2 or 3 ability scores provided from that background. And then the class that you pick provides a primary or maybe a choice of 2 primary ability skills that gives you a +2 there to make those character option choices feel a little bit more impactful. But I like the huge amounts of freedom that what Kobold Press has decided to do here, by just before you even get to any of those choices, you can arrange and create the ability scores that you want based off the dice that you roll. They still provide point buy and a standard array per usual, but as part of that, I don't believe you get to add a +1, +2 if you use the standard array or the point buy. So it's different than what I did when I ran 5th edition for years. I think the system I enjoyed the most was doing the 4d6, dropping the lowest method, and then if the total didn't hit a certain threshold, you just scratched all 6 and re-rolled another array of 6 scores. I liked doing that because I do like powerful PCs. That's the whole point of why we're here. So in an ideal world, I would have characters that had an 18 and maybe a 16, but would then also have some really low scores, maybe like a -1, if not a 0. That would always be my preference. So I think the threshold I usually did was like 70. I probably played around with 75 at one point, but that was pretty powerful. Yep. So so that's how ability score generation is a little different in CFR. You see, the rest of this is mainly the same. All this is just explaining, leveling up. How does XP work, milestones, but all this is for the most part the exact same kind of information and suggestions that you would get if you were looking through the Player's Handbook of 5th edition, or even probably the SRD. So if we jump into actually starting to look at the first lineage, we've got dwarves. Dwarves are medium, have a speed of 25, which is 5 less than other lineages we've seen. And they have night vision. They have dwarven resilience, which is an advantage on saves against coming poison and resistant to poison damage. And dwarven toughness, your hit point maximum increases by 1 and increases by 1 every time you gain a level. So, dwarves out of the box kind of getting that toughness. I believe it's the toughness feat that gives that same kind of bonus to HP, which is great for any character. Obviously, everybody benefits from good hit points. Then you have heritages, which is Kobold Press's version of sub races. I like the naming. I feel race and sub race is pretty. It's an easy thing to stop using and just try to make more people happy and comfortable. So you have Fire Forge dwarves and Stone Forge and Stone dwarves. What's interesting is that both of these provide, you have the choice of picking an alignment, and the heritage provides you some options of most creatures of this heritage tend towards. So Fire Forge dwarves tend toward chaotic or neutral. Expert Artisan gets you double your proficiency bonus and a chosen tool. Resistant to fire damage, which I mean that's huge. Usually beneficial fire damage is probably one of the more common elemental damages. And resistance in 5e is, just having all of that damage is. I love the friend to elementals that you can speak, read, and write Ignan. And then the Reforge trait is extremely cool, giving you the mending cantrip, being able to cast it as an action. Always seems underpowered. It seems like a trap pick for cantrip in 5th edition because there's very rarely any mechanical system in the game to suggest how a item might break in use. It's always kind of up to the GM almost to determine almost like part of a fumble table or anything, and that doesn't happen to magical items, which you can get pretty quickly. So mending always feels a little underutilized. It'll be interesting to see if Kobold adds any additional systems and equipment. See, things like shields, bows, swords, etc. break to where mending would be useful. And then stone dwarves tend toward lawful or good alignments. We got some weapon proficiencies. One thing I noticed when reading is that in the flavored text, they talk about how stone dwarf children are raised to wield a mining pick. but then a pick or pickaxe, that type of thing, isn't actually listed in the Dwarven weapon training. So part of leaving feedback in the survey, which is included in the PDF, I'm gonna just see like, hey, like this seems like a disconnect. Not sure if smooth that out of just like making the match up a little bit, but my eye caught it while I was reading. It just seemed kind of like a hitch. Dwarven armor training is also really cool. Gives you proficiency with light and medium armor, and then additionally your speed is not reduced by wearing heavy armor regardless of your strength score. Really cool. It seems like traits here are pretty powerful. And we'll see the same thing with backgrounds and the talents system, that they're extremely powerful. I'm going to leave a link to where you can download the PDF from DriveThruRPG for free. I'm not going to read all of this. It's for you to check out, but that's kind of what heritages and lineages look like. That's kind of the scope of them. I think all three options, the dwarf, elf, and human, presented here in the playtest document, look really, really cool. I like how powerful they are. I'm interested to see what they do with alignment. And I don't miss the lack of ability score modifier based on the lineage or heritage choice. So you look at backgrounds. Backgrounds comes with some skill proficiencies, equipment, or you can use an optional rule to spend coin on gear, and then a talent. So talents seem to be coming from 3 different lists, which we'll see on the next page. We have a magic talent, a martial talent, and a technical talent, and then each background the choice of 1 of 3 talents. And some of those talents can be on different lists, and it's they call out that choosing a talent as or your background might be the only option, the only opportunity you have to pick a talent from a specific list. So it seems like talent might be something you're going to continue to be able to dip into and choose from, but it's probably be based on your class. So if you're playing a martial class, you probably pick from the martial talent list. If you are a spellcaster magic using class, pick from the magic list, etc. But at background, depending on what background you pick, you might have the opportunity, even though you're planning on playing a wizard, you might have the opportunity to pick from the martial talent list if there's one that like screams out to you when it comes to flavor or like mechanical benefit. All of these talents are extremely good, which you can read here in the PDF. Some of them are better, more flavored toward someone who's not necessarily looking to like optimize in combat efficientness. Especially with the technical talents, those are specifically like providing abilities that all outside of the combat mode of the game. Polyglot trade skills are both cool. Trade skills especially great for being able to earn income without having to roll, feeling like you're wasting time. 2 gold pieces for a day earning income. It could be good, but talk to your GM beforehand if that's the kind of game that they want to allow, if you're going to have a lot of downtime to be able to earn income, or if they think gold might be scarce and we don't know what the rest of the system looks like. They might actually try to like rein in the gold economy to where adventurers aren't flush with gold by level 5. The talents in the magic and martial lists are extremely powerful, way more powerful than a first level feat if you used feats in 5th edition. Some of them are really, really good, and then some are just good but flavorful. On the really, really good side, combat casting makes it, starting from level 1, gives you the ability to basically like automatically succeed on concentration checks for your spells as long as the DC was lower than your spell casting DC. It often is, especially at lower levels. It also allows you to use a shield or weapon as a spell casting focus without having to give up that hand to perform somatic spell components for your spells, which would be really, really great. Really great, depending on the build. Elemental Savant is good and really good for flavor. It allows you to pick a element, and you can choose at time of casting a spell to change the damage type from its original to the chosen element you made when you took the talent. So if you want to be a pyromancer, instead of limiting yourself to just taking spells that do fire damage, now all of your damaging spells can deal fire damage. If it was originally a fire damage spell, it now just does extra damage without you having to change it. So really, really cool. Armor training is great and gives you kind of free access to heavy armor if your background or or if your heritage class didn't give it to you, but you wanted it. I really like hand to hand. I really like being able to use unarmed characters in hand to hand talent. Just it gives you proficiency with unarmed strikes. Now do 1d6 plus your strength, which is great damage. And gives you ability or advantage on ability checks made to initiate or escape a grapple. Like, I mean, that to me is like kind of like a first level feature for a non-mystical, like a pugilist brawler type thing. The fact that you can pick that outside of a class would be really cool. And I would try, I wouldn't put it past me to try to create a character around that, like regardless of the class. Wait to see what kind of classes Kobold creates for this system. But that's it. Just 12 pages, a quick little, a quick packet, but I think gives us a really good look at what Kobold Press is attempting to do, and that they're fulfilling their promise of what they said when all this WotC stuff was coming out, that they were going to create their own, separate themselves business-wise from Wizards of the Coast, and make something that the community would really like. And I believe Kobold Press is a part of the what would you call it? Basically promising to join in with Paizo and other third-party independent publishers to put their games in a license that would allow content creators to create content for it without ever having to worry about a single company changing the license on a whim, like Wizards of the Coast threatened to do earlier this year. So I'm excited to continue to keep up with Project Black Flag. If you're interested in a 5th edition alternative that doesn't make you throw away the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of books that you've collected over the years, or if you and your party enjoy playing the system but no longer want to support Wizards of the Coast, or just want an alternative to the character options and the stuff that Wizards is creating, Kobold Press's upcoming game looks like a really great alternative. Another great alternative that is already out and published and available to you, called Level Up by EN Publishing. Pitching is kind of like an advanced 5th edition, a slightly more crunchy, more impactful, more dangerous 5th edition. That's been published and out for several years. I have a couple of videos on it. I'm doing a blind read-through of their core rulebook right now, so you can check out the rest of my channel for video on those. But if you have any thoughts about the Black Flag projects and how they're going about their playtesting, or what you would like to see from future 5e compatible products from Kobold Press, leave a comment. Let's discuss. And if you're ready for more videos like this one about this project, hit subscribe so you'll know when a new packet and my thoughts about it are out. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy. Peace.